Hi everyone, Lumberjack here from Bearly Homesteading. Here on the homestead, we believe that the whole family needs to participate in our activities, and that includes the YouTube videos that we do here. And so the video that you're about to watch, our oldest son actually did the camera work on it. It's his first time doing something like this, and it's a bit shaky, so just warning you up front. Not the greatest camera work, but he's learning, and he'll get better as he continues to practice and do more videos in the future. So enjoy!
Hi, this is Mama Bear at Bearly Homesteading, and today we're going to talk about freezer jams. Now, if you don't have room in your freezer, you can definitely do jams and process them on the stove just to be able to sit on your shelf, but I prefer the flavor of freezer jams, and so I try to make room for them because that's my favorite. You can do them with pretty much any fruit. Today we are going to be making them with strawberries. Now, these are strawberries that I purchased when strawberries were on a good price during strawberry season, and when you could get them for less than $1 a pound, and then I freeze them until I'm ready to make the jam. And that way I get the best price. It's a lot less expensive than buying them at high prices or buying frozen even. We do have strawberry plants. At some day, our strawberry plants will be big enough to produce all the strawberries we need, but for now I have to stock up on them during strawberry season. Now, what we're going to need for this recipe is we're going to need our strawberries, we're going to need lemon juice, we're going to need pectins, and we'll cut to the one where I did the. We're going to need an immersion blender and some water. And that's just about it, other than a little bit of time. So let's get started. We've got Sports Guy here who's going to help me. First thing we're going to do is we're going to mash up our strawberries and see how many we have. Do you want to help? Just mush them up. If you don't have one of these handy dandy little mashers, a potato masher or fruit masher, you can also use an immersion blender. I like to get them, the big chunks kind of cut up with this, and then I go to an immersion blender. And it depends on how chunky you want your jam. If you like lots of chunks, you can leave the strawberries in bigger pieces. If you want more of a jelly consistency, then you want to puree it so that there are no chunks. If you have problems with seeds, after you get it pureed, you can then strain out all the seeds. I leave them in, they don't bother any of us. Okay, we've got it mashed up pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the immersion blender and puree it pretty smooth. I don't like too many big chunks, so all right, we've mixed this all up and doesn't it look pretty? Nice, just strawberry puree. Pure strawberry, pure fruit at this point. Now, whichever pectin you use, we'll have a recipe with it, or you can go online and find a recipe. And what we do first, now that we've got the fruit all mashed, we're going to measure it out into a bowl. And depending on how many cups of this we have, depends on how many batches that I can make. All right, that's 8 cups, so we will get to do a double batch of that. Now, I have just a little bit left over, not enough for a full batch. So what I like to do is I will just freeze this in a Tupperware in the freezer, and then I can use it to put over ice cream or put over angel food cake for a strawberry shortcake, or use it in any different way, any way that you like mashed strawberries. It's delicious. So now that we have that, we need to add our lemon juice. Because we're doing 2 batches, we need a half a cup. Again, just follow whatever recipe you're using because it will be correct for whatever the recipe says. There we go. And then we will have Miss Independent come here and just stir it up a little bit. You can put that in the sink. And this is easy enough that my kids help with it and they like it, and then they love eating the jam and they say, oh, this is the jam that we made ourselves. Okay, the next step is also adding the sweetener. Most jam recipes will have some form of sugar or honey. Now, one of the reasons why I like the Pomona brand is because you can use honey instead of sugar, and it has a range of how much sugar that you can use, depending on how much you want in there. Now, I have found it works really well with some of my fruits, and I can adjust the sugar to the levels that we like. But with my raspberry jam, I have found that I generally have to add the full amount of sugar, otherwise the jam doesn't set. So I'm going to go ahead and add our sweetener. Now, before you think I'm adding too much sugar, this is not a full cup. This is only a half a cup. So I'm not going to give us all diabetes by that. All right, and so then we're just going to stir that all in. Make sure to scrape the sides. You really want that sugar to get mixed into the fruit because you want the sugar crystals to dissolve. Otherwise, you get that grainy texture in your jam, and nobody likes grainy jam. At least I haven't met anybody who does. Who knows? Everybody's got their own flavors and tastes. All right, and as we let this sit for just a minute, the jam, or the sugar, will dissolve, continue to dissolve. But as long as I can get it all scraped off the sides into the jam, then it'll continue to happen. Now, most recipes will ask you to heat up water for your pectin. It helps the pectin dissolve better so that you don't get little clumps of pectin. It helps the jam set better. And also that warm will help the last of the sugar crystals dissolve in the fruit to make a nice, smooth jam. So we are going to go ahead and heat up some water. You'll want the pectin or recipe of your choice. There are several different varieties. These are not the only ones. Just find one that you like the flavor of. These are the ones that I have used. I've had good success with all of them. And so it just kind of depends on what I have on hand. Okay, so we've got our boiling water now, and we're just going to add our pectin to that water. All right, and that's how much pectin I needed for 2 batches. Now this is another part where we use the immersion blender. It's very important to get this pectin really mixed in, so that we don't have little lumps, and so it can do its job of helping the jam to set. So I'm just going to try to get it wet so the powder doesn't poof up all around me. We don't waste that pectin. And then I'll be sticking the immersion blender in it. Now, if you don't have an immersion blender, or you can just throw it in the regular blender, Mix Master, whatever you have where you blend or mix things. You just want to make sure that it does a good job and it's not lumpy. You do not waste that pectin or your jam will not set, and nobody wants liquid jam. All right, so that looks pretty good. It already, because of the warmth, it's already taking on a gelled consistency to it. A little thicker than water. And so now we're just going to go ahead and pour that right in our strawberry jam. All right, so, oh, there's my spoon. I had to... That pause where we edited a little was me finding a new spoon because I had lost mine. Turns out it was in the strawberries all along. So maybe a longer spoon would be helpful when you attempt this, or a smaller bowl. We want to make sure this pectin gets mixed in and that the warmth can dissolve the last little bits of sugar that may be remaining. Now, the Pomona brand that I am using this time also requires what's called calcium water. And it's just a little calcium powder that you mix up with water and put it in. Now, the other brands have not really required that in the past. And again, it just depends on what brand you like and what you want to have to deal with. But this actually helps it gel fairly quickly. And this calcium powder is actually, this calcium water is actually made up from the last time that I made jam. I completely lost count. I have no idea how many of these I've added.
I can go back and watch.
That's a good idea. So the calcium powder was one I had made up from the last time that I made jam, and it just keeps in the fridge just fine, so it never goes to waste. I just have to shake it back up again. So I'm mixing that in, and I can already see that it's starting to get a much more jam goopy consistency than a smooth water. And then that's basically the process. It will take a little while for it to gel completely. And then what we do is we go ahead and we put it into jars. I like to use the pint jars because we have 6 people in our family and we go through the jam fairly quickly, but you can definitely use a little jam jar or even a Tupperware. Plastic container of any kind would also work. And we just fill those up. Make sure to leave at least an inch for headspace as it freezes, because it expands a little as it freezes. And then we put the lid on and we leave it out on the counter for 24 hours to let it come back to a full room temperature and to finish gelling. All right, and so we have 7.5 pints of strawberry freezer jam. Now you can put a half pint in the freezer if you want. You could not process it only half full. That would be a good idea. We'll probably just put our partial jar straight into our fridge for the kids to start enjoying as soon as they find out it's there. You do want to clean off, of course, the rims. Otherwise it'll stick to the lid and you'll never get the lid off. And oh, that will be some unhappy days when you don't get the jam when you want it. So we'll just put the lid on, let these sit on the counter for about 24 hours just to regulate and finish gelling, and then we'll pop them in the freezer, and we have fresh strawberry freezer jam for, well, until we eat it all. And that just depends. So I hope you all have a good day. I hope that this has given you the courage that just to go ahead and make a little bit of freezer jam. And if you don't have enough fruit all at once, go ahead and pop it in the freezer until you have enough. And you can mix berries. I just had a bunch of strawberries. If you don't have enough strawberries, throw in some blackberries and some raspberries or some blueberries and make a nice triple berry jam or a medley. It'll all taste wonderful, I promise. And so this is Mama Bear signing off from Bearly Homesteading. Use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. Have a good day.